Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome to the Retirement Show, all about your life, your money, and your taxes. I'm your host, Scott Searins. My goal is to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. And today we're going to do just that. We're going to talk about the hazard zone of retirement. What's the hazard zone, you ask? Well, it's the 10 years leading up to retirement and that first 10 years of your retirement. And there are some critical things that happen within this 10 years. There's three things that you need to be doing and looking out for. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. After that, we're going to end with a listener question about Social Security, working and taking Social Security. Should you not? We're going to go into the question today, and you'll find a lot of good value as we end on that note. But first, I want to tell you a story about how I almost got scammed. That's right, I almost got scammed, and here's the story. So right now we're working on trademarking something for our company, and I'm working with an attorney on that. And so we had got everything set up, and the attorney said that they had submitted everything for the trademark. And then next thing you know, in the mail, I get something that talks about patents and trademarks. Now, the attorney had told me that the trademark is going to take, I think it was like 7 to 9 months or something like that. But this thing I got in the mail, it was basically saying, hey, it's almost ready. And we just need, I forget what it was. I think it was like $1,500 or something like that, or $1,000 to finalize everything, and we'll have it all out to you. And I mean, it looked very legitimate. It, used a name at the top of it that said, something about trademarks and patents. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I must need to pay this to finalize. And good news for me, this trademark must have gotten, pushed in advance or rushed through the system. So it's almost ready. This is great news. But guess what? It was a scam. And how did I find out? Well, my gut just said, hey, before you pay this bill, I've done everything through this attorney over here who's really taking care of it all. And he said it would take 8 to 9 months. And so he also said I would hear from him and everything would come through him. So what I did is I took that piece of paper, I scanned it in, I sent it to the attorney, and wouldn't you guess it, what he got back to us and said was, yes, that is a scam. Don't pay it, rip it up, throw it away. And by the way, you're going to have other companies reaching out to you. They're all scams. You're going to hear from me in regards to your trademark. So I bring this up to you because at the same time, Karen in our office here had brought in an article from AARP. Take a look at this. When fraud hits again and again, and it was talking about a celebrity actually who was scamming folks through a telemarketing service for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I figured today was a good time, today's podcast was a good time to remind you about all of the different scams out there. And first, I'm going to start with kind of the top 5 scams, and I'm going right to the National Council on Aging here. I'm going to share it on the screen so that way you can see it. National Council of Aging. So I just want to remind you that all of these scams are out there and they're happening and they're targeting all of us. But as you get older, they're going to target you even more. Their focus is on those that are in their 60s and their 70s because they feel like they can get you, they can catch you in this emotional adrenaline that they're going to create. And you get so mentally involved in everything that they're talking about and doing that we kind of lose sight, right? It was like me getting so excited that this trademark is ready that we actually lose sight of what's actually happening and that recognition that, wait a second, maybe I should go talk to somebody first before I actually follow through on this. So take a look here. We're going to talk about the top 5, and then I'm going to just go through some things to tell you what kind of happens sometimes in some of these scams. So number 1, there could be government impersonation scams. People calling you, acting like the IRS or Social Security Administration or Medicare. Folks, IRS will never call you. They're too busy. They can't even answer their own phone. These organizations aren't going to call you. You set up appointments with them, or they're going to send you mail. So know that if somebody's reaching out to you on that behalf, again, hopefully it triggers something for you to question it, to go, I don't know if this is legit or not. All right, let's keep taking a look here. Number 2, sweepstakes and lottery scams. If they're saying, hey, you've won millions and millions of dollars, and you're like, but I didn't even submit anything, could be a scam. Number 3 here, robocalls and phone scams. This is an interesting one. I don't know if I get this one too often on my phone, but be really careful. This is really interesting. Take a look here in the article. One common robocall is, can you hear me? And when the older person says yes, the scammer records the voice and then hangs up. They want to record your voice saying yes, because you have to say yes in a lot of different calls, a lot of different things for calls when it comes to your accounts. So be really careful when you pick up the phone what you answer with. Saying yes isn't necessarily the right thing to say. Number 4, computer tech support scams. This is the one that I've really been hearing recently, hitting people and hurting people. When I say hurting people, hurting basically their accounts because they get scammed through this. What happens is that there's going to be some sort of pop-up on your computer screen that says, oh, there's a bug or a virus on it. Call this number right now to get it fixed. Well, the number that you're calling is actually a scam center. And then they're going to get you, and I'll explain in a little bit, but they're going to get you involved in this process of how there's a virus on your computer. Then next thing you know, it turns to your bank accounts, and next thing you know, your bank's fraudulent. And gosh, they just get you so emotionally involved that really what they're doing is they're scamming you to get to your bank accounts, to get to your credit card accounts, and so on and so forth. And then the last one here, and I've heard of this one too, happening to people, is the grandparent scam, where basically they're going to reach out to you and say, just like it talks here in the article, hi grandma, hi grandpa, do you know who this is? Well, if you go, is this Johnny? Is this little Rebecca? And they're going to say, yes, it sure is. Well, then they're going to use that upon you to say, hey, there's something wrong, but don't tell my parents, and I need some money to get out of this trouble. Folks, that is a scam as well. So I bring all of this up. Again, we're going to get into the retirement hazard zone, but wanted to start always starting with something that's new or relevant in regards to what's going on. And today I really wanted to start with this because I know it's impacting people and hurting their finances when they get scammed. So a few more things on this. When this starts happening to you, they get you so emotionally involved. You almost feel like you're in a movie and they won't let you alone. So the computer tech scam, right? This pops up on your window. It says, call this number. You call that number and they just keep you on the phone and turn it from one thing to another thing to another thing. And they just get you so emotionally involved in this. And these are the stories that I've really heard. It starts with a computer technology issue. Then somehow your bank becomes fraudulent or your bank accounts are fraudulent and you need to go to your bank and withdraw all of your money from that bank because that bank's fraudulent, but don't tell them because you know what? They're doing some research on them. And if you tell them, then they'll know. Folks, that's a scam. But here's the thing, they get you so emotionally bought in that we're not thinking straight. Just like when I got that piece of paper, I'm like, oh my gosh, my trademark, I'm going to get it in 1 month versus 9 months. This is so awesome. And I just have to pay this amount. You have to slow down sometimes. You just have to slow down. You have to just break the rhythm sometimes. And I had to break the rhythm and go, I'm just going to email the attorney about this and say, is this legitimate? Do I need to pay this? Because here's what I was getting in the mail. And just by breaking that emotion, breaking that adrenaline and just slowing down for a second, I was able to find out that it was a scam. A few other things, they're going to say, hey, don't tell your kids, or don't tell, if it's the grandparent scam, don't tell my parents, this is what's happening and I really need some money and please go to the bank and take it out and wire it here, or send it here, or drop it off here. I want you to be careful. A few more things, you might feel, if you kind of feel like you're in a movie, almost like, gosh, this is only stuff I see in the movies. it could be a scam, right? This whole your bank is fraudulent thing, or your bank account is fraudulent. That could be a scam. Your grandson calling you and he needs money, but don't tell my parents. Again, that could be a scam. Call the parents. Why not? Make sure that you're not giving thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to somebody who's just going to run away with that money. Because here's what happens. A lot of times, these people will not be caught. Okay, so want to just wrap up with a few things in regards to prevention on that. Then we're going to get into the retirement hazard zone. Wrapping up, how do we prevent ourselves from getting caught in these scams? Well, number one, be really careful. Don't respond to phone calls or texts from unknown numbers. Now, myself personally, if there's an unknown number on my cell phone, I rarely answer it. If there's a text, I'll most likely delete it unless I can see a name that I know and it's a person that I specifically know in that text. But if somebody's sending you emails or you're getting text messages with links in them, just delete them if you don't know who they're coming from. Same thing with phone calls. And this is an age thing too. I've noticed that I won't answer phone calls and texts from unknown numbers, but my uncle, who is in his 70s, he picks up every phone call that comes in. Now, you have to be careful with that because it could be a scam. Okay, so be really careful with unknown phone numbers and text messages. Number two, don't respond to unsolicited emails or unsolicited offers unless you know that it's coming from somebody that you specifically know, especially links that you get in those emails. Be very careful. If you don't know who that email is coming from and they're saying, click on this link or click on whatever, really think about it. Look at the email address that it's coming from. We were just talking in the office the other day. We're getting scam emails from Amazon that makes you feel like you're getting a refund or something. But if you actually look at the email address, it's not from Amazon at all. It's from a Gmail address or a Hotmail address. Next on here is call a trusted advisor or a family member. Again, break the adrenaline. Break the emotion, break what's going on, because it's going to be going fast. They're going to get you really involved. And I want you to break that. Call a trusted family member. Call your financial advisor to say, hey, here's what's going on. What do you think about this? Do you think that this is legit? I heard it's my grandson. And if you get too involved with it, right? Well, my grandson called me and he needs X amount of dollars. And they said not to call his parents. Well, call your advisor. Maybe your advisor can then call the grandson just to make sure, hey, here's what I'm hearing. Is this right? Is this what's going on? Break that repetition of what they're trying to get you involved in to say, oh, okay, let me think about this some more. This one isn't really a way to prevent scam, but in the event something happens to you, this could help you out, is freezing your credit. So you want to go to the major credit bureaus and freeze your credit. I can tell you, based on having my identity stolen, freezing your credit really helps out in the event that something does get stolen from you. Here's why. With your credit frozen, then they can't go out and start miscellaneous credit cards or cell phone accounts or other accounts because your credit is locked. And the only person that can unlock it is you to be able to start those different accounts. So there you go, some ways to prevent and help. And then the last thing is make sure you tell others. Tell other people about what's happening out there. Share stories, share what you've heard, share what you've heard just on this podcast here about the 5 different scams that could be happening out there. Because the more that we share this with people, the more that they're aware of it if it starts happening to them, right? If that pop-up comes up on their computer screen that says, hey, you got a virus on your computer, call this number. Hopefully you sharing it with them, they will go, wait a second, I just heard about this. I think this is a scam. I'm not going to click on it. Or if I did make that call, I'm going to just say, you know what? I'm going to reboot my computer, see if I can, do something different instead. Hey, hope that start here gets you really thinking differently, and hopefully us talking about it saves you, the potential of getting scammed and thousands of dollars, going away from your accounts, and also maybe saves your family members or friends from getting scammed as well. Okay, with that, let's move into the retirement hazard zone. So the 10 critical years prior to retirement, and then those first 10 years of retirement. Now, before I dive straight into it, one other thing here that I'd like to mention, if you're not part of our insiders list yet, we have an insiders list where we send out weekly emails with tips on Social Security, tips on how to reduce the taxes on your IRAs and 401ks, all to help keep more of your hard-earned retirement savings with you versus giving it to the IRS. You can sign up at lifemoneyshow.com. And it's right on the homepage there, lifemoneyshow.com. Right on the homepage there, you can sign up for our email insiders list to get our weekly emails. So the retirement hazard zone, those 10 critical years, here's what I like to compare it to. And here's the analogy that we're going to use to be able to go through this today. And I hope that it really connects with you. I want you to think about driving down the interstate, and then next thing you know, you're approaching a construction zone. What are the 3 things that you need to do when you're approaching or going through that construction zone? Well, one of the things would be to slow down, right? Slow down. There's signs all over the place. Reduce your speed, new speed limit. We have to slow down. The second thing is we have to think differently. We've been on cruise control, going down that interstate, 65, 70 miles per hour on cruise control, haven't had to think about a thing other than just keeping it between the lines. And now all of a sudden we're approaching a construction zone. We've got cranes going on. We got trucks going on. We got to think differently. And then the last part is be prepared for the unexpected. So how does this, I'll say, relate to your retirement? Well, here's how it relates to your retirement. First off, and I'm going to do these in different order now, we have to think differently. The 10 years prior to retirement, and then those first 10 years of retirement, we have to think differently. I mean, right now, if you're in the 10 years prior to retirement, you have a company paycheck coming in. This is like being on cruise control. We're working, we got money coming in, we're saving, working, saving, living, working, saving, living, working, saving, living. That's just like driving 55 miles per hour down the road between the lines with the cruise control button on. You're just doing it over and over and over, year after year, and you feel comfortable with it. It's comfortable because that's what you're used to. But here's the thing. Coming soon is that construction zone where you're going to have to think differently. And that construction zone in this case is called retirement. And when you hit retirement, that company paycheck is no longer going to come in. And now you're taken off cruise control. We've just been on cruise control, but now guess what? We got to take it off cruise control because now we're going, wait a second, our company paycheck's no longer to come in. And we're going to go from being a saver to now where we have to be a spender. Gosh, this is totally different, and it is a different feeling. And this is why I'm saying you want to think different. You want to start thinking differently as you get closer to retirement, because now you have to start looking at your retirement savings differently. You have to get off cruise control if it's something that you're just saving into, and instead you have to think about it as your bucket of money that you're going to cut your personal paycheck from when your company paycheck no longer comes in. And so that's the first part. You get close to retirement and you don't have that company paycheck coming in. You're going to go from a saver to a spender of your retirement savings. That's one, a tough emotional change, but two, it's also just a change in what you're used to. And so that's the first part. Think differently. All right, the next part, be prepared for the unexpected. When you're approaching a construction zone or in a construction zone, I mean, there are trucks entering and leaving the highway. There's construction workers around. There's debris around. There might be big cranes around. There's big heavy equipment that's running. And there's people that could be really close to your car driving through that construction zone. A lot of different parts and pieces that could cause an accident. And the same in your retirement is you need to be prepared for the unexpected, things that could cause an accident, we'll say, in your retirement income or your retirement savings. For instance, what if there was a major tax change? Have you set up your accounts properly so that you are prepared for any sort of unexpected tax changes? What about inflation? Are you prepared in the event that there's the cost of goods and services going up? And then the last one, and I'm going to show you kind of a map here in regards to this one. And this is why I say that hazard zone starts 10 years before retirement and then kind of goes into that first 10 years of retirement. So let's just take a look here at what I've put together. Now, it's on the screen here, but for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm going to explain it as well. Basically, it's a map of the S&P 500, the 500 largest stocks from 1990 to 2023. And the reason I use that is because that's a 30-year time frame. You could have a retirement that lasts 30 years. But the other reason that I brought up this specific time frame is if you think about it, take a look at if you think about the last 10 years, right? So if you think about 2010 through 2020, that was a 10-year bull market. Wouldn't we all be happy to see that again? I mean, that would be awesome. But what if we saw another 2000 through 2010 where the market pretty much remained flat over those 10 years? We had some great gains, but then some major crashes in those 10 years. We had the 2001, tech bubble. Then we had the 2008 Great Recession. So great gains, but some big crashes. So here's what I'm talking about. Be prepared for the unexpected. Not only taxes, not only inflation, but what about the market? Have you set up your investments to support you if we get another 2000 through 2010, or if we get another 2010 through 2020? Have you set everything up to support you no matter what, to help support you if we have a good economic conditions or if we have poor economic conditions? And that's what kind of leads us to the third part here, which is slow down. Now, I know that's the first thing as you go into a construction zone, but as we're talking here in our podcast today, slow down comes last, meaning we've got to think different. We've got to start thinking differently in this time frame. We know that we've got to be prepared for the unexpected. Then what does slow down mean? We know we've got to do it in the construction zone. What does that mean when it comes to our retirement savings? Well, what it could mean is that we need to start looking at our investment allocation. If we're all on the growth side, when is that right time to start taking some of those funds and reallocating them into less volatile funds so that way you've got them in the event of one of these, you have them and they're there for income in the event that we have one of these market corrections or market downturns. So that's the final part here is slowing down. Now, you might say, well, then how much do I shift over? When do I start shifting it over? Well, that all depends. You see, it depends on your risk tolerance. It depends on your time frame of when you're going to need income. For some people, yeah, maybe they start at 10 years out. For others, maybe it's 5 years out. For others, maybe it's 7 years out. It all depends on your situation, your tolerance for risk, and when you're going to start needing income. But it's good to start shifting things out of that growth mindset, not all of it, over to the, I like to call it the war chest, but basically our pool of funds that it's not subject to the same volatility as the S&P 500. And so hopefully that helps you understand. And just like going into the construction zone, right? They say slow down to a certain speed. Well, same thing for your retirement. When we say slow down, it doesn't mean, oh, you're just going into retirement. You have to be ultra conservative now all of a sudden. No, because if you go too conservative, you're not going to be prepared for the unexpected, like inflation, the cost of goods and services going up over time. So that's why you've got to find the balance here. That's why you've got to find the balance of having money out there on the growth side, but also having money in that pool of funds that's not subject to the same volatility as the market. So it's there when you need it once you retire. And if you're in retirement, that's why it's just important as well. Now you're taking income. Now you're cutting those personal paychecks. And so you've got to have that pool of funds there. So again, market correction, you've got your pool of funds to go to for income while the market rebounds and comes back. All right, so there we go. The retirement hazard zone. Things that I want you to start really thinking about as you approach retirement, or if you're in those first 10 years of retirement. One, are you thinking differently? Are you starting now to take off cruise control and really think of your retirement savings as that pool of funds that you're going to have to go to and start cutting your personal paycheck from when you get into retirement? Are you prepared for the unexpected? Have you started to allocate your funds? Do you look at your overall picture and say, hey, I'm prepared for tax changes. I'm prepared for inflation. I'm prepared in the event that there is a market correction. And then number 3, slowing down. Are you starting to look at your investments a little bit differently? Are you looking and allocating your investments in a way that will support you, help support you, whether we have good economic times or potentially poor economic times and returns in the market? So here's the question that we got from Liddy. And if you'd like to submit your question, you go to lifemoneyshow.com, click on this podcast episode, and on the right-hand side, you'll see an area where you can submit your questions. We'd love to answer them at the end of our next podcast episode. So here we go. Liddy says, I always assumed that I'd start my Social Security as soon as I retired, but I'm going to be getting several weeks of vacation paid out in my final paycheck. Plus, my husband will still be working for another 2 years, and I don't really think that I'll need the money or I'll need the monthly income. Is it wise just to put it off and not start it immediately, or should I take the money since it's there? So 2 different schools of thought here of what's going on. So let's just recap. Liddy is at the age where she can take Social Security. She's going to retire. She's of an age where she could take Social Security, so she's going to retire. And she says, should I retire and start my Social Security right away? Or should I retire and wait to take Social Security? Because guess what? After I retire, I got this nice chunk of money coming in. That's the vacation payout that I've got coming in from my company. And then on top of it, my husband's still working and we really don't need the monthly income. So let me walk you down kind of the 2 paths of thoughts, and then I'm going to give you the 3 things that you want to consider always when taking when deciding when to take Social Security. So one school of thought is that, hey, you can take this money, and if you don't need it, you could reinvest it. But just remember, you could, based on your husband still working, your Social Security then may add into your taxable income, depending on how much you have coming in, maybe 50% or up to 85% of your Social Security can add into your taxable income. So next thing you know, you're paying taxes on it to try to just get money to reinvest. Or that other school of thought is, do you delay taking it? Since you don't need the income, do you delay taking it and letting it grow? Because each year that you delay taking your Social Security, it grows by 8% for each year that you delay taking it until you reach age 70 where, hey, it maxes out. Then next thing you know, you've got to take your Social Security. So here's some things that you want to consider. One is longevity. Now, this is the primary thing that just most people consider, and that's it. But how long do you plan to live? How long does your husband plan to live? And so based on that, if you plan to live into your 80s or longer, and of course, none of us know, but if you think that might be it, well, then it does benefit you to wait longer to take your Social Security. Taxes, we just talked about that. You could take Social Security, but with all the other income that you have coming in, is now your Social Security going to add into your taxable income and just portions of it become, taxed? So are you just taking it to then give more money to the IRS? Another thing to consider, I know I said 3, but there's actually 4 here. So we started with longevity, taxes. The third thing is your retirement savings. How much do you have in your retirement savings? Do you need to let your Social Security grow some more? Because if you take it too early and then your husband retires, you don't have enough in your retirement savings to support the income that you need. So maybe you need to let it grow to make your whole income plan work. And then the 4th thing to consider are survivor benefits. Between the 2 of you, whose Social Security is higher? Is it yours or is it your husband's? depending on whose Social Security is higher, you may want to let that one at least grow as long as possible, because if one of the two of you were to pass away, and it doesn't matter who, you only keep one of the two Social Securities and you keep the higher of the two. So to recap there, I want to think about longevity. You want to think about taxes. How much do you have in your retirement savings? And then for married couples, you want to think about survivor benefits. Lydia, I hope that helped you in regards to your question. Sounds like you don't need the income, so maybe just let it grow. But go through all four of those, and hopefully it helps you come up with an answer to your specific situation. Again, just like Lydia, if you'd like to submit a question, go to lifemoneyshow.com. Go to the right-hand side there and submit your question. Also, while you're there, if you want, sign up for our insiders list. Right on lifemoneyshow.com, you can sign up for our insiders list, which is our weekly emails that we send out to provide tips on topics like Social Security and how to reduce the taxes on your IRAs, 401ks, and other helpful retirement topic tips, all to help you retire with confidence, help you maximize your retirement story, help you keep more money in your pocket versus giving it to the IRS in taxes. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If so, don't forget, subscribe on your favorite podcast player. And if you're now watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe there as well. Thanks, and have a great day.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Sierens Financial Management, Inc. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Sierens Financial Management, Inc. are not subject to investment advisor requirements. AEWM and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including, but not limited to, a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.